This is Charter Local Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance in the Central Valley today, and we are joined by two of Turlock's finest. We are joined by the mayor of Turlock. His name is Gary Soiseth. I got it right this time.
Absolutely.
We are also joined by Phaedra Norton. She is the city attorney for Turlock, and I am glad you're both here today because it's undeniable that our state is facing a bit of a crisis as it relates to those that are homeless or facing homelessness. And we are trying to grapple with how do we deal with those that are engaged in quality of life crimes, which are often crimes of the homeless. What can you tell us about those, Phaedra, generally, these kind of quality of life violations?
Sure. So Turlock is no different than any other community. We face the same challenges that other communities have, although I think Turlock has taken a different approach to those challenges and really focused on taking the challenge head on and what programs can we develop in conjunction with the enforcement, the court system, and ultimately providing services to the individuals that are our citizens that need those services but maybe don't understand the path to get to those services.
Yeah, I want to ask you, Mayor, because Phaedra is onto something, and that's this notion that maybe we shouldn't criminalize homelessness. You know, this is a layered issue. It's textured. It's complicated, and we can't incarcerate our way out of homelessness. And so, talk to me about your desire as the mayor, the elected official, to work with Phaedra to try to create a program whereby we're not just criminalizing homelessness, but trying to solve the root cause.
Absolutely. So as Phaedra's correct, as she said, homelessness isn't a crime, and we understand that. Also, some cities like to think of homelessness as an out-of-sight, out-of-mind strategy, and that's not something that we think is the accurate thing to do in Turlock. So we look at this as a challenge and an opportunity, and so we're very proactive in looking at these individuals as human beings, as residents, as part of our fabric, whether they're transient, just there for a little while, or they're there permanently. Because what we found in talking with them and working with this population is that they have a connection to Turlock. They're our residents, they're our citizens, and we need to treat them with respect and make sure that they're adhering to laws, but also that they're getting the help that they need.
And I'm compelled to ask, you know, when I think of Turlock, I think of this very beautiful, idyllic town, Stanislaus State. I wouldn't think homelessness. But like you said, Phaedra, there is homelessness everywhere.
Absolutely.
And they are, if I can use the term, homegrown, generally speaking.
Generally speaking, they do have a connection to Turlock, whether that is their home or the home of family members. And they're our citizens, and we have we have an obligation to try to provide directed services and assistance where we can and where they're willing.
So let's talk about what you're doing. It's an innovative program. It's a pilot program, but it's one I know in which you are both quite proud. And it's known as the City of Turlock Pilot Diversion Program. Give us a sense of what it is, how it works, Phaedra.
So our officers come into contact with individuals that are engaged in quality of life crimes.
Such as?
Camping in the park, storing personal property in the park, public consumption of alcohol, being in the park after hours. When our officers make contact, our first question is, are you in need of services? How can we get you connected to services?
Can I just tell you, I mean, that would never have happened 20 years ago, ever. I don't even know what happened 10 years ago, but there is a shift.
There is a paradigm shift. There has to be a paradigm shift because we know the court system and what we've been doing in the past is not effectuating the change. And I think in order to effectuate change, we have to deal with people on an individual basis, find out what their challenges are, and try to bridge the gap of where they are and providing the necessary appropriate services to get them on a path to transformation and restoration so that they can be stably housed, stably employed.
But Mayor, I want to ask you, I think it's inspired that, as Phaedra describes, the question first is not what are you doing, but do you need help, do you need services? But the challenge becomes, these folks may be fearful of authority because of the last half century of difficult relations between homeless and law enforcement, let's say. So how are you working through this program to let these folks know We're not here just to put you in jail. We're here to help.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great point you bring up. And that's why community policing and community involvement and engagement is so important. You talk to some of our frontline police officers dealing with this issue. You talk to our city attorney. They know these individuals by name. They know their backgrounds. They know their stories.
Right.
And a lot of times when we come in contact with them, the police officers do, and they issue that municipal code violation for being in parks after hours or storing their property in the public right of way, those police officers have engaged with that individual multiple times, giving them warnings. Hey, person X, Sally, you can't be doing this. And so there's a dialogue there and there's an understanding there. And so I think that that's so important. That's key. Our police officers have been fantastic in the fact that they understand the problem, understand the individual behind the crime.
Right.
And again, homelessness isn't a crime, but as Phaedra said, all those other municipal code violations are.
Right.
And it's our goal to make sure that we have a safe spot for all residents, those that have homes that want to enjoy the park, and also those that are there maybe on a transient basis.
So what happens then? Do you need services? However the question is answered, there's still that violation.
Correct.
And so a city can take an approach. They could charge him, put him in jail, whatever it may be, fine him, but you're doing something different. Correct. What are you doing?
What we're doing is, and the court process does play a role. The officer, if they can't gain compliance, they will issue a violation. That violation goes through the court process. I appear at all the arraignments for any violation. That's my opportunity to make contact with the individual and offer the diversion program. Two components to the diversion program.
Please.
Informal, which is for first-time offenders only. If you're a first-time offender, you can perform 16 hours of community service. If you have no further violations of a Turlock Municipal Code within the next 6 months, we will dismiss that case in the interests of justice.
Nice.
Not everybody
How's your success rate?
on first-time offenders is 60%.
Oh.
65%
That's,
through enforcement alone.
you can write home about that.
Yeah.
That's for real.
Don't pick up a second violation.
Right. You can write home about that. So what about those that may face more challenges with law enforcement?
So we have multiple offenders, obviously. What we found, though, is 95% of the individuals, by the time they've received their third citation, don't violate again.
Really?
Yes.
Because they're tired of it, because of the diversion? What is it?
I think it's a multi-layer approach, and I think it's a combination of the officers asking what services do they need, then through the diversion program, having a case manager, which is critical to our program, of an individual that can, if the impediment is having a driver's license, if the impediment is having a social security card to get connected to services, our case manager can walk them through that process. And that may seem like a little thing to you and I, but it is a huge hurdle for the citizens that we have contact with.
Let me ask you, Gary, because, look, suffice it to say, Turlock, it's not San Francisco. It's not the bedroom liberalism that you'd expect. So how are your residents seeing this? Because this is a different approach. It's not a tough-on-crime approach. Are they willing to give this pilot a try?
So we have a lot of compassionate people in Turlock, and I agree. There are some critics that say, "Why are you spending resources on this program? Why would you want to build a homeless shelter for year-round?" All these different things. But we look at it as we all have different roles to play, all the different sectors, and so we have this enforcement sector, enforcement mechanism that we need to enforce, which is the municipal code violations. Police officers work on it, but then we really engage the nonprofit sector, the Gospel Mission, working on the cold weather shelter, but turning that into year-round, working with the Salvation Army, We Care. So we have a very active nonprofit side that's helping us bridge that gap and get them those services. So I agree, this isn't a handout. This is just trying to understand what the problem is, taking the bull by the horns and addressing it head on and doing it responsibly.
Well, congratulations. When you come back, I want to hear how the program goes.
Absolutely.
And hopefully it will be launched as a full program. We'll
Absolutely.
see. She is Phaedra Norton. She is the city attorney of Turlock. He is Gary Soiseth. He is the mayor of Turlock. My name is Brad Pomerance in the Central Valley. This is Charter Local Edition.